And now we're live.
Yeah.
All right. So, hello everybody who's watching now and in the future. My name is Kenzie Dodds, and this is Nick. I don't know how to pronounce your last name.
Nick Butenka.
Nick Butanka. Okay.
That's easy. Yeah. That's Ukrainian. That's fine.
Cool. Yeah, sorry. I was lamenting how difficult AWS Lambda was for me, and Nick was kind enough to say that he could answer some of my questions because I guess you've done a little bit with Lambda. So that's what this is all about. Nick, maybe you could, for anybody who's watching later, it might be useful for them to get a general idea of what AWS Lambda is and like good use cases for it.
Yeah, I can't be better than the manual and documentation itself, but can just give my thoughts on this. So Lambda is just basically a pure function that gets some input from some of the sources. We can probably just chat about this later. Do some work and die. And it's supposed to be like quick, because hard limit is 5 minutes per lambda. So you should do some work that's definitely much less than that. And it just completely auto scales for you until you hit the limit of lambdas that you can run. So they say it's about 1,000 lambdas that you can run simultaneously. Might be changed, and also if you work like multiple people on the account, then obviously you will share the stuff around everyone. So yeah, that's basically pure function. Get something, do some work, provide some output, whatever you like, done.
Cool. So Mike use case. Oh, we're getting some feedback on you. Could you mute your mic? You can hit, if you're on a Mac, you can hit Command D, and that's a shortcut. So yeah, but for my use case, it's like I like, I write JavaScript, and so it would be Node, obviously. And what, like, the kinds of things that I want to do, like one example is Rebase and Merge. So I have this repo up on GitHub that basically adds this ability to GitHub pull requests for you to do a rebase and a merge without a fast forward merge or without the --no ff. So it'll do a fast forward merge, and so it keeps your Git history really nice and clean. And so I was doing that on something called WebTask.io, which is kind of similar, except they dropped their free tier, and now like WebTasks only work for 30 days, and then yeah, it's junk. So I would even pay like a small amount for something like that. Like most of the stuff that I want to do is automation kind of things. And so what I really need is I just need to be able to hit a URL with a query string and then run some code. I want to be able to use node modules, but if I have to like bundle those together, that's I guess that's acceptable. But can I guess to bring this all down to a specific question is first, can I use node modules distributed on NPM?
So in Lambdas, when you use Lambdas, you can actually do whatever you like. So it's a full running application. So the limitation is that obviously you can't use just NPM dependencies. So you need to package your Lambda completely.
Okay.
Means that you can use any libraries, anything you like. You just need to make sure it works on Node 0.10.033, I think, is the one that they use on Lambdas.
Wow.
And obviously, if you use some native extensions, that should be compiled for that version. So ideally, if you want to test it locally, you either use that version, Node version, or you just create some Docker container with that particular version and test all the stuff. And how you deploy Lambdas is you deploy them as just package zip file. That's what you do. There is a Amazon CLI to do that. On my work, we actually do heaps of automation, and we don't manually deploy things, obviously. But the problem with Lambdas in this case is that not that many tools support it, and they're not that well connected inside Amazon API too. So there are some missing links between different things. I can't recall correctly right now, but there was something with other permissions or relations with connecting to different things like SNS or S3. That's about deployment. So regarding what you want to do, I don't think you can do it with Lambdas unless you do extra layer. Lambdas are really coupled with Amazon infrastructure, so you can't invoke Lambdas arbitrary. They're coupled with whatever happens in Amazon. There are, at the moment, it was just introduced recently, but at the moment they have about six different sources to spawn Lambda. I can just quickly tell you actually seven. So it's recently added Amazon Internet of Things, CloudWatch events and CloudWatch logs. It's again Amazon stuff. DynamoDB things, so as soon as you push more stuff in DynamoDB, it will just spawn lambdas to process whatever is like by different things. And then you can use Kinesis streams. You can use S3 or SNS events. This is all your options. You can't actually just say, yeah, this is the URL, I hit it and do something. So if you want to do this sort of stuff, you need to spawn like really tiny little node application that will always work, and it will simply push event to SNS. So SNS is basically event bus for Amazon, and you can just create a topic, put event in there, event. Each event will spawn down. So that's what you can do.
I see. So the benefit then of having Lambda would just be like its auto scaling features and stuff like that. So you'd have a node server that like you give it a URL or something, the node server would then say, oh, okay, that corresponds to this event. I'm going to publish an event on AWS, and then the Lambda takes over and it does all the hard work.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not something that you can run constantly or run sort of by cron schedule or something like that. So for this sort of tasks, we use like Singularity and different like Docker containers. So we can run things, we can schedule things. If you want long running tasks as well, Lambdas won't work because they have really hard limit, it's 5 minutes. You also have memory limit, which is maximum is 1.5 gig. I don't think that you can raise it. So most of the limits in Amazon you can raise, you just need to manually request and raise it. For Lambdas, there are some limits that you cannot actually raise, like 5 minutes limit and memory limit. So it's funny that some people do Lambdas in different languages like Python and like Scala, which like you run JVM, which takes bright kips of memory. So yeah, you don't have much. You also have limit on the amount of code you can put in there. That's related to dependencies that you use. So I think I might be wrong and it could be changed, but it's about 1.5 gigabytes per account. So yeah, for Node, it's pretty much a lot. So I mean,
yeah, that's tons.
But still, you have this limit. You can't use more storage. You can't use more lambdas, and it involves all the lambdas that you created. So if you have, I don't know, 10 different lambdas, combine all the size, and it should be smaller than that. So there are really hard restrictions you should be aware of.
Mm-hmm. I'm really put out that I can't, like, because when I was playing around with AWS Lambdas before, like there was some part of the UI that said like set up a resource endpoint or something, and so I thought, oh, okay, so this is just like Webtask, I can just set up an endpoint to hit and it'll run my function. But you're saying that's not at all how it works. That's too bad. That stinks.
It's not bad. It serves the purpose. So it's like, yeah, when you create an endpoint, you obviously need like DNS records and all that different stuff, and also, like you just need to use more infrastructure. So you can do all these things, but again, if you want to have some persistent thing, you need to build an application. You spawn EC2 instance, micro instance that will always be there. You will have this address, and in that application, you just publish SNS events. That's the basic thing that you can do. Also, like Lambdas are really good for things. So, for example, you have an application that needs to, I don't know, like basically gzip files. So you get some uploads and you need to gzip them, and you want to make your server do less work because it's CPU heavy on a scale. Then you just put all your files as they are. You just stream them to S3 as it is, like no changes, no transformation. Set up Lambdas as soon as file appears in S3, or you can bind SNS topic to S3, like it doesn't matter. Then you get this data to Lambda from the S3 as part of the event that comes in. You get that file, stream it through Lambda, do whatever you like. You can do actual streaming, so you can do like transform stream, transform it, pipe to S3 back. So this is what you can do, and this like they're really cheap. So Lambdas you pay by executions, and they're really cheap. So I don't know, it's like super cheap actually. And
yeah, that was one thing that attracted me to it.
Yeah, and they scale a lot. So which means that you can sort of like put this stuff, make it once, and sort of forget about it, and they will do all the work. So if you hit the limit of running Lambdas, like whatever hundreds of thousands you have right now, they will throttle. You will have this stuff in logs, but they will just run again after some time. So it's not like they fail and you're lost. So they will recap. If you want to make things like really sort of bulletproof, much better. At least what we do, we use SQS. It's a queue, like sort of RabbitMQ of things in Amazon infrastructure. So what happens, every file that inserted on S3, it gets into the queue. Like just we put a message in a queue, and then there is an SNS topic which spawns Lambda, and Lambdas will just go grab something from SQS. If it doesn't fail, if it's all good, it just deletes thing from SQS. But it's for some sort of like bulletproof things. It requires much more work, and well, I wouldn't say it's a really convenient way to do things, but yeah, maybe it would be easier to use some just EC2 application for that thing.
So if you were going to build the, something like I described, like I hit this URL, it does some stuff, like, and with that URL, I can pass it my, a GitHub token or whatever. Like I can pass it all the stuff that it needs just with URL. Like, how would you solve that kind of a problem?
Well, Lambda is probably not the best way to do that. So yeah, just spawn a simple micro application, micro instance would be pretty much done.
Would you use like Heroku or do you like what is it, DigitalOcean, or what's your preference?
Like I was using Amazon by myself for some time. Then I was using DigitalOcean, and I was using Heroku, obviously. Heroku in Australia is just that slow. It's just completely. So you just simply can't really rely on it. It's latency is crazy. DigitalOcean seems to be the best choice for me. At least I was using it for like reasonable amount of time. I'm pretty happy, and it is if you use like small things, if you need small application, it was like maybe 3 or 4 times cheaper for me than Amazon, which, so yeah, I mean, Amazon is pretty expensive.
Yeah, okay. I think that Lambdas were not what I expected that they were, which is a little too bad, but still interesting, and maybe something that I'll use one day for a different use case. So I think you definitely answered all the questions that I had. Was there anything else about Lambdas that you wanted to mention or anything like that?
So maybe some things, like it's fairly new. So Amazon just run them. Was it last year? So it's pretty new. And there is not all the infrastructure that supports Lambda properly. And especially when you, like, Lambdas are built to do some scalable jobs. And if you want to use them, you sort of run some heavy cloud infrastructure around it, and you have some automation tools, and that's a big pain. So most of the tools just simply do not support them. There are some API calls that you can't just simply make. Also, there are problems with, they're not really problems, but just difficult things to solve with roles. So when you do things like events, so Lambdas need to have access to them. So you need to specify you need to create roles for Lambdas to have access to those things. You need to specify all the sort of ACL thing. And also there are different things that some things work, something doesn't work. So yeah, that's sort of tricky thing. So we use right now Terraform. It's automation tool for cloud infrastructures. We use it mostly for Amazon, though it can support some other things too. Yeah, it definitely lacks heaps of stuff. So for example, you can't update Lambdas. So you just delete them and create new ones, or things like that. And there is an issue, which is, I mean, yeah. After all, we actually found a way to avoid these problems, like basically running CLI things inside automation scripts, which is, well, you just waste a lot of time. So if you like know the benefits, if you know what it does well, and you know that you actually will benefit out of it, then yeah, use it. It's pretty cool. They scale really well. They do things really nice, and you don't and they cost super cheap. And then if you need something like some really strange things that doesn't fit that well on the concept, you will just pretty much waste your time. So either wait until all these problems are solved. I don't know how much time it would take, or just yeah, use just normal node applications, Docker containers, anything. There is one more thing, is configuration. So for example, sometimes, we had this problem. We spawn different things every time we deploy application. We deploy different things like SQS, SNS, and heaps of other things. They all have unique IDs in all these different things. How would you specify how do you let Lambda know that you need to use this particular configuration IDs? Lambdas don't have any sort of configuration, and Lambda is packaged. So Lambda is just a zip file. So if you think about, yeah, I'll just put config.json inside a Lambda and it will be fine, it doesn't work straight away, because you want to, you get those IDs when you deploy things, basically. So there is some tricky thing that you want to solve. Well, you don't have this problem if you just react on events and your event has IDs and things. But if you react on event and you want to go to SQS and do something, then you need to pass that SQS ID somehow to Lambda, which should be sort of configurable. This is something that you can't do with Lambda means. So you can't do that. You simply need to generate this configuration first, put things into Lambda, and then publish Lambda. Sort of. I'm pretty sure, I personally think that this is not really a good thing to do with Lambdas, but yeah, for us, we found a way to solve it, but I'm not super happy with that. So if you use Lambdas, and try to just use whatever they have and check exactly what they do, and if you want to do something more than that, you probably have troubles.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of good information. You said that you were a little, or you weren't really, you didn't have anything prepared or anything, but I think you've got some pretty solid information about Lambdas. So just two more things. I thought anybody who's watching, and I don't know whether you've heard of this or not, but recently TJ Holowacek, who abandoned us, Node people and went on to Go. No, he didn't really abandon us. He just doesn't have enough time in the day. But he created something called Apex, and you can go see it at apex.run, and it's a CLI to manage Lambdas and some other cool stuff, and everything that TJ touches turns to gold. So check that out. And then the other thing is, Nick, if anybody wants to get in touch with you and ask some more questions, like on Twitter or email, like what's the best way to get in touch with you, or how would you want them to get in touch with you, or would you want them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I sort of like do talks in Sydney. Like I'm always happy to answer and help everyone. Yeah, Twitter NKBTNK. You probably just post somewhere. Well, anyway, it's in conversation. Email nick@butenko.me. It's, I don't know. Again, I don't really hide it, so it's always there. There is another thing is gitter.im. So Gitter chat. Yeah, Gitter chat /nkbt. I'm there, as well as my GitHub handle. Yeah, pretty happy to. No problem.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, thanks.
Yeah, just one note. I'm in Sydney, so like the time zone is right now is about 10 a.m. So yeah, just mind if I don't reply. That's probably I'm just sleeping or surfing or I don't know.
Cool. All right. Hey, thanks for coming on and answering all my questions about AWS Lambda, and hopefully somebody finds this useful. So, see ya.